So, Deadlands. So, it's been a year or so since the end of the first campaign. A lot's happened. You've all been in quarantine, which makes it hard to keep track of time. And Shanfran is obviously a city that's popular. Like many along the western coast, when Ghost Rock was discovered, the city boomed and started growing faster than all the rest. Uh, but the big difference that Shanfran has to the other cities that dot the west coast is the presence of the Chinese population and the Chinese warlords who have a strong claim on the region surrounding the area known as the Dragon's Breath, as well as the city of Shanfan itself. Um, the they The warlords hold on to the area with an iron fist, but there's no law against strangers coming in. And when you're looking to hide from the agents of the North and the Texas Rangers and whatnot from the CSA, there's no place better than Shanfan. It's a huge old city that continues to grow in leaps and bounds. Plenty of ghost rock around, so miners are always coming into the town. It's the perfect kind of place for you just to disappear into the crowd and keep your head down. And that's where our story begins. The three of you, Evan, brother Malachi, and Harley, are walking down the street one day. People are bustling back and forth. It's the usual. It's a midday, so people are coming in for the markets. The farms around have brought in their goods and whatnot, and most of the miners are out, seeing to their business right now. So you see a lot of the good wives and the servants and the people of downtown Shanfran walking around, and they're the ones who are taking up the street and keeping it busy. As the three of you walk along, we're going to go ahead and start with Michael just to get us warmed up because he's real good at this. Tell us a little bit about. I mean, it's been a year. A lot's gone through your head. It's okay if you don't remember all the fine details, but tell us a little bit. How has Harley been doing?
Um, Harley's been doing okay. He, when everything kind of went down, he, put his head down for a while, uh, and did, kind of went back to what he's good at, and that's playing a lot of poker. And so, Harley spent a lot of time just kind of moving around the bars and doing his best not to, draw attention. There's still, that darn wanted thing over his head. So he's got to lay low for a little while, but most of the time, if he could take advantage of somebody, he was going to do it. And the way he does it is with cards. So, um, that's pretty much what he does. He makes some money, he drinks it away, makes some more, he buys some fine clothes, uh, and then dirties them up and has to buy more. It's the same old. And one day he just kind of realized it just wasn't working out, right? And so he kind of hunted down his old group again, started doing some stuff with them. Kind of felt good. Kind of got back to this weird normal for him, you know. And so and here he is, he's walking through the streets and he's kind of eyeing the crowd, making sure he doesn't notice faces that he knows or more like knows him,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but also kind of keeping out for a saloon. You know, maybe he needs to fatten up his wallet before they hit the road again.
All right. So, Jess, how has Evan been handling herself in the last year or so?
Well, you see, laddies, Aaron has pretty much been working with the, what do you call it? The, whatever the Foo the Rock was called.
Oh, Ghost Rock.
Uh, Ghost Rock. She's been working with the Ghost Rock and using her tinkering abilities just to, how could you forget Evan's Irish
I'm
accent?
sorry, I had completely forgotten her Irish accent. Go ahead, you're doing great.
Sounds like it.
It's
Kind of
just
sounds like
better.
I forgot it too.
It's not that she didn't have one. It's just this one's a lot better than the last one she had.
Tinkering with her hand and other sorts of things and her cannon as well. Just trying to improve her knowledge on the Ghost Rock and just mechanics and weird sirens in general. She's always on the lookout for more opportunities to work on her craft. She's always looking for more opportunities to enhance her hand, the her mechanical pinky that she made for herself, as well as her hand cannon. So that is pretty much it. It's just Evan.
So I imagine Evan may have been a little bit down too. Before everything had gone down, Hellstrom had made a promise to her. You had impressed him with your tinkering abilities, and he'd made an offer to hire you at Hellstrom Industries. Then, unfortunately, everything went south, and when the airship got crashed into Hellstrom's camp just north of Los Angeles, unfortunately, good Mr. Hellstrom went on to the great beyonds. His whole business took a bit of a plunge for most of the year, but last month or so, there's been a rumor that Mr. Hellstrom, or at least someone related to him, has shown back up, and Hellstrom Industries has started to boom again. Even just a few days ago, you heard a rumor that they were starting to take on new inventors and whatnot, and they're starting to reinvest in the ingenuity of the people of the West. And Evan may have been thinking about, completely up to you, whether she wants to go take up Hellstrom or his kin, whoever's running the business now, on that offer that he made all that long ago.
Absolutely. And that turned into
That was really
Midwestern.
Midwest right there.
That's all right. All right. And last but not least, Bill, Brother Malachi. You probably went through some of the most dramatic changes towards the end of the last campaign. How's the good brother handling what he's been going through?
It has been a very difficult time for Brother Malachi as a herald and kind of as kind of the judgment of the Lord. I have wandered around from city to city, basically bringing God's wrath on people who and mostly on clergy. I've spent my time going around finding preachers and charlatans and people who claim to be doing the Lord's work who actually are not. People much like Brother Grimmy, who are deceiving their flocks and using the name of the Lord to deceive and to take advantage of other people. And so I have basically been an angel of death, just walking from town to town, bringing judgment and hellfire down on those who deserve it.
And the Weird West is definitely full of those kinds of folks. Unfortunately, Brother Grimmy's flock, those who survived the second Battle of Los Angeles, fled across the Weird West. Several of them started up their own little cults here and there. It seemed the grip of the Reckoners weren't quite done with the Weird West, and Brother Malachi has had his hands full, rooting them out wherever he could find them, chasing down the blood of Brother Grimmy and dealing with them as best he can. So it's right about this time that each of you receives a message from your good friend Jedediah Cash. Jedediah Cash being the agent gunslinger that you were traveling with, who was played by Steven. And he tells you that there rumors gotten to him that there's someone in the city of Shanfran. I keep saying Shanfran when it's Shanfan. Someone in the city of Shanfan who's been asking around about him. And he's a little tied up at the moment, but he's asked if those of us if you receive his letter, if you could track down this young individual, find out why they're looking for him, and see what you can do about it. You've all been chased. Several of you are wanted. Brother Malachi. I'm sorry, not Brother Malachi. Well, Brother Malachi.
I've been wanted for a long time.
Right. So wanted, you even had a bounty
too.
hunter traveling with you for a while who's keeping it secret that you were his bounty.
Kind of used to that. Kind of used to being a wanted man.
And everyone's definitely had heat on them since the Battle of Los Angeles and Brother Grimmy's demise. And so the three of you have taken up this charge to at least investigate and see what this young buck who's looking for you wants. And that's where we return to our scene on the streets of Shanfan. The three of you are walking quietly down the road. There's a young man walking in front of you, and he seems to be walking the other direction. He's got a curious look in his eyes, and he continues to watch the people around him. But it's obvious to experienced eyes like yourselves that this young man stands out just a little bit too much. Dax, go ahead and describe your character to us.
Okay.
I
All right.
shoot him.
I'm dead. So the first thing you'll notice about me is I've got a gaping hole in my forehead. Okay. Standing a little over 6 feet tall, man dressed in clothes reminiscent of the back east, and let's see the best way to describe him. Uh, Low sideburns, you know, not like chalky pale white skin, but kind of like a long nose and icy blue eyes behind a pair of glasses. He's also wearing, I guess if you take a look at the icon at the bottom, wearing it's almost a top hat, but it's not quite that tall. Um, as he looks around, he's kind of got like some bird-like motions. He's always on. Seems like he's always on the lookout, always keeping his eyes looking for a way out of any given situation. Quickly scanning faces, quickly scanning the environment and everything around him. Not nervously, just cautiously. Um, the coat that he's wearing, it's not buttoned in the front, but it's not reveal. It's not open to reveal any kind of weapons. But anyone with a careful eye can see that there is a gun belt carefully hidden by, or that's in the front of his clothes. He's also wearing a little too much jewelry for a person, almost like and a scarf that's kind of like dangling from around his neck, almost reminiscent of gypsy wear. But for the most part, back east finery.
Definitely unlike anyone else that you've seen in the city of Shanfan. So the sun is high in the sky. There's a light breeze coming in across the ocean. Typical temperatures for here. Everything's kept at a nice 50 to 60 degrees through most of the day. Greenery around the city and whatnot. You guys have done this before. You've dealt with people following you. How do you want to approach him, or not approach him for that matter?
I want to pickpocket him. That's what I want to do. He's got on him.
Please try. Please try.
I honestly don't think she could do it.
Where are my dice at?
Is he anywhere close to a saloon by chance?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of saloons. As a matter of fact, in the city of Shanfan, there's 53 saloons, and so you go to any particular street, and you're going to find an establishment that's perfect for salooning, for gambling, for drinking, anything you could think of.
Is there one directly across the street from him?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you're passing by a place called the Two Silver Bits.
I kind of stretch my arms wide and kind of in a hushed voice say, well, I think I'm missing the piss poor smells of the old saloon right now, and that guy over there is pretty interesting. I want to see if there's a window seat I can find and maybe strike up a card game. Keep an eye on this guy. What are you two gonna do?
I'll follow you into the saloon. I could use a drink
right.
myself.
Oh, let's go, brother.
Nothing better to do myself. Might as well follow.
All right. Maybe we can get a table going.
Three of you walk inside.
I'm not trying to lose my coin.
Oh, I'd give it back. You know I would.
Don't play yourself.
You step inside the saloon there, and a pretty typical establishment. You see a long bar along the back of it. It's a single-story establishment. This one, you see about 4 or 5 green felt-covered tables. Gambling, meant for gambling. 10 to 12 people about the room. Mostly old timers sticking to themselves. Miners on the older end, or those who haven't been doing so well. Couple of nice-looking older ladies are cleaning up the tables, wiping down the bars, and one of them is actually behind the bar, and she looks up and she makes this nonchalant motion, kind of pointing at the whole room, letting you know you can sit wherever you want. One of the
there a
tables
table?
is in the perfect location, right by the front window, kind of like the showcase table to show off the games going on inside. Which for your purposes is perfect for you keeping an eye on the gent out on the street.
Excellent. Well, I saddle up against the table there and start shuffling the deck.
I'll walk up to the bar actually and order a whiskey at the bar.
I signal over to Brother Malachi, and tell him to get me a shot as well. And then I'll just kind of eye the crowd and see if anybody's interested in striking up a game.
I tell the bartender, I'm like, whiskey, leave the bottle, and send a shot over to the card player sitting at the table there.
Much obliged.
She nods and pulls out her a mostly full bottle of whiskey. She wipes it down for you, pulls out a couple glasses, wipes them down for you, sets down one in front of you, pours the first glass and leaves the bottle, or pours the second glass and leaves the bottle. And then you see her walk across the room. She quietly sets it down and in front of Harley and says, Preacher up at. Or actually, I do need to ask: does Brother Malachi still show off his vestments and whatnot?
Yes, yeah, I have no qualms about wearing my collar, and still as I used to. I wear a long, black duster and black shirt and everything, but I do have the preacher's collar on.
Okay. She says, "Preacher at the bar has got you covered, sir."
Are we allowed to carry weapon? By the way, are we allowed to carry weapons in this town? Or do we have to check weapons?
No, most definitely. There's. I don't think you'd find anyone not carrying some kind of weapon in Champagne.
Okay. Yeah, then definitely he's got his hand cannon with him, propped up next to him.
All right.
And as a bit of a show, Harley kind of leans back in his chair, says, "God bless you, brother," and then downs it in one shot. Slams it on a thing and then does kind of like this show of like a shuffling show where he kind of makes a bridge and shoots from hand to hand and stuff and try to get some people's attention to start a game.
You do draw the attention of a couple old timers. To a pair of them wandering over to the table. Younger one of the two sits down and kind of makes a motion. The old timer looks at you and says, "I'd love to play some cards, Mister. But I won't lie. I've seen your type. We'd like to use a house deck, please."
Right you are.
Brother Malachi kind of chuckles. He's like, "Smart man." Throws back another shot.
Yeah, Harley kind of repositions his hat on his head and kind of scratches. He's like, "Yeah, I can understand that. I'll play any game, any deck. Sip, friend."
They both sit down, and the older gentleman motions over to the bar, and the kind lady who brought you the drinks comes out with a set of house cards, sets them down in front of you. She spreads them out so everyone can see the cards, and then she puts them back and leaves them on the table and walks away.
Excellent. I said, "Why don't you do me the favor of shuffling and cutting?"
"Oh, I don't mind if I do. Thank you, sir." Takes the card. And you can tell just by watching his hands, you're burning the cards as hard as you can. And he's definitely not a card mechanic or anything. Even his old arthritic hands are a little bit slow as he works his hands to the cards. But you can tell it's an honest shuffle. And then he sets them out for a cut.
Okay. I'll go ahead and draw. You're going to have to teach me how to play poker again. I played such a long time.
No, that's okay. We'll get to that. What is Evan doing in the bar?
Evan followed Brother Malachi. She's not necessarily partaking in alcohol, trying to keep the wits about her. But she does have her hand cannon out and she's kind of tinkering with it, just messing with the mechanisms and
Okay.
Are you sitting near us or are you at the bar? What did you say?
I said I'm with Malachi at the bar.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, Dax, I need Tobias to give me a notice check.
Can do that. I think I can do that.
There you
He
go.
can do it.
You do it.
Right.
Rolled a 9 on your wild die. That's nice. Um,
Yeah.
You happen to stop at one of the there's a fishmonger who's got a cart and he's pushing it through down the street, and they don't smell too bad, and you're stopping to look at them, and then through the corner of your eye you glance over, and you see Harley K. Fogg, sitting just through the window at a table, accepting his cards from an old timer who's dealing them to him. Well, he's definitely not the one that you came to town to look for, which was Jedediah Cash. He is part of the posse that used to ride around, during the incidents that surrounded Los Angeles.
Can I make a notice check as well?
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. Go ahead and do a notice check as well.
Duh.
No,
Not as good as his notice check.
not as good, but still successful. So, just about the time that Tobias sees Harley, Harley glances up and sees him and makes a play like he wasn't even looking at him at all, and goes back to the cards.
Yep. Perfect.
Well, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that as a opportune time. I'll approach the saloon that has wandered into, and take note of where everybody's positioned. Is there enough room at the poker table for one more?
There absolutely is, yeah. Most standard tables have 4 seats, and obviously there's plenty of room for more to sit around if there's need be. You recognize, actually make another notice check as you walk into the bar. Go ahead, Bill.
As he walks into the bar and approaches the table, Brother Malachi just kind of really slowly and really kind of trying not to draw too much attention, but he kind of reaches down and cocks back the hammers on his shotgun and keeps an eye on this stranger who's been tailing us.
Whatever it was, I saw it. I don't know what it was, but I saw it.
Actually, Bill, give me a stealth check to try and do that without being noticed.
All right.
Spoiler alert, I already saw it.
You never know.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. Brother Malachi is not too subtle about that. You see him kind of reach down next to him and just kind of click, click as the both hammers of the double barrel shotgun kind of
He struggles with it for a second.
cock back.
There is a long moment of silence in the room as everyone, although Brother Malachi was very quiet, the clicking of the hammers was not quiet at all.
Could you be any more subtle?
Yes, piano player picked that exact moment to stop playing.
Yeah, he gets up. You see a couple of the old timers who are already invested in the card game get up and walk out the door.
It's like the piano sitting there going dun 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 dun. Click click.
As you start to head to the table where you saw Harley, or as you walk into the bar, I should be a little less specific. You do notice Evan and Brother Malachi, who is obviously cocking his weapon across the room at the bar, and realize that tactically they definitely have the advantage on you in this situation if things go south. And players have shot players before in this campaign, just so you know.
And just to be clear, we have shot each other before. We
are not
don't have any problems with that.
So what is Tobias
like
doing?
to kill you, then to hug you.
Tobias is not making casually noticing, but noticing that weapons are at the ready, and doing his best to remain stoic. Walk over to the table while yelling out to the barkeep, "Whiskeys."
She holds up 4
hello there,
fingers
friend.
with a questioning look.
Only because she only has 4 fingers.
Yeah, she lost one, and that's how we met 4-Finger Betsy.
Yeah.
Hey,
So write that down. Write that down.
Catch you with the 4-finger dog.
Evan's like, I relate to that.
And then
She comes over with a round, serving tray with 4 whiskeys and puts one out for Harley, one out for you, and one out for each of the 2 gambling old timers who sat down with you, the miners.
Much obliged, friend. And you are?
I think I'm liking to join you. I'll put down a few bills. I'll say, what will this get me?
Well, that'll certainly get you a hand. Sit on down, friend. What's your name?
Call me Boone.
Boone. All right, Boone. This
Nah.
here is what were your names?
The younger looks up at you and says, Flynn, my name's Flynn. Good to meet you. And the older guy nods and says, I go by Cooper.
Flynn Cooper. My name is Harley. Welcome to the table, Boone. We all like people who are willing to lay down $1 and have a little bit of fun.
And the cards start to fly. I need each of you to give me a gambling check.
Gambling check. I think I'd be better at this. Only got a D8. Nothing. So Cynthia and Sophia came in and they're sitting down. They're going to be playing a video game. And I say something. They're like, huh? I'm not talking to you.
Gambling is actually an actual skill check. If Tobias doesn't have gambling, then you do an untrained skill check. Oh no!
Thank you for playing, friend. You're like 3
It's
aces.
actually, Tobias has actually pushed his chair out, and he's leaning back in it, almost too comfortably with one leg over hiked one leg over his knee, and he's barely even touching the cards. Like, he takes a peek at them, puts money down, finishes the bet, looks at the cards, throws them in. He doesn't look like he cares that he's losing.
And fortunately for Harley, the miners aren't very much gamblers either. I rolled a 2 and a 1. And after a couple of rounds, the money starts flowing Harley's direction.
Excellent. How much do I clean up with?
So far, you pulled in $4.50. The stakes aren't very high yet, but you just got started.
Yeah. Enough to start loosening lips, hopefully.
$4.50.
Yeah,
That
good.
could get you.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So, Cooper and Flynn, obviously been around here a long time. What's people do other than drink and gamble around here?
Flynn pipes up and he's like, "Oh, well, if you're not in the geek, if you're not in the mood to drink and gamble, I mean, there's the fighting pits. They got all sorts of martial artists and stuff who
Don't say.
Oh yeah, that's big around here. Not so popular. They kind of illegal some places back to the east, but still legal around here. The Chinese folk they like to show off their traditional fighting styles, and they're real good at it. I've been to watch several times. It's amazing what those folks can do.
They are amazing. They can bend in ways I'd never thought possible.
Ain't that for sure? Cooper kind of listens to the conversation. He goes, I'm not much for the fighting pits myself. When I don't spend my Sundays in church, tending to my soul in the afterlife, I like to spend my time in the library. I took up reading in my later days, and city of Shanfan has a nice little library. They've opened it to the public as well. They say it's one of the first on the west coast here.
Well, I'll be darned. I'm gonna have to make sure to come visit that. Now, where is that located?
Oh, that's up on the First and Cherry Blossom Street.
First and Cherry Blossom.
Yeah, you can find it right on the corner. Shanfan Public Library, first of its kind.
Well, I'll be darned. Wonders do come in many forms, don't they?
That they do. You gonna deal another hand of cards there?
Absolutely. Fancy shuffling. And then I pass them out again.
You notice they go in a little bit lighter this time around.
Yeah. Might have to pull some punches to get this pot to go up.
Yeah, the raises aren't quite so steep on this as it goes around the room. So
Oh
what?
God.
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
Oh, dude.
get me on a pair of deuces.
How much is this card worth, guys?
It's good that Tobias doesn't care that he's losing money
Because he's losing money.
because he is losing money and fast. Matter of fact, the two miners are watching you and going. The younger one leans over and says, "Sir, if you're playing some kind of game, I think you're playing the wrong one. This is poker, not gin.
Not Pharaoh.
Yeah.
I think either one of you can afford the game that I'm playing.
Ooh, that is
alright.
dark and sinister, friend. You
Alright,
might
alright.
care to
Let-
elaborate
Alright.
upon that? Is there something we can help you with?
Jess, you were
I
saying.
think
Oh no, I was to his remark. I was just commenting like, all right, we got a big shot over here. Okay.
So I'll just Tobias reply to that.
to which comment?
I'm sorry, to Harley's comment, or Evan's comment for that matter.
Well, see, here's the funny part. I was going to answer Harley, but then I wanted to hear what Jessica had to say. But then I forgot what Harley said, and then you asked me how I responded, and I forgot what Jessica said. Can we
Yeah,
play
that whiskey
word
does
for word?
that to you.
Your plan's working, guys. Keep going.
How many shots of whiskey have you had now? So we've established that Tobias can't gamble and can't hold his liquor.
Well,
What
those
are
are
you doing out
awful,
here? Go back to the east.
those are awful dark murmurings out of here. Does your soul need to be cleansed? I got a friend over here. I'd be happy to talk to you about that.
I don't think your friend's in any position to cleanse anything.
Oh, now he's quite a good preacher.
Watch your mouth,
Actually,
buddy. That's
I
my
will
friend
agree.
you're talking about.
I'll agree he's a preacher, but I don't think he's a good one.
Oh,
Oh,
That's
now
right.
I do.
and
I'm-
Harley kind of tips his hat back and lets the cherry sit and then kind of fall back down to the ground because he's had it kind of kicked back, and he's like, "Now, better be careful, friend. My brother over here might take offense to those words if you say them loud enough."
I don't take any offense. He hasn't said anything that isn't the truth.
Ah, damn.
My cleansing days are long behind me. I'm more in the judgment business these days.
At this
Fine,
point,
fine, brother.
Tobias O'Lean will sit forward, elbows on the table. I do believe it's my deal.
Well, go ahead.
Not breaking eye contact with Harley, except every once in a while to check on on Evan and the brother.
You see for just like a slight moment, like when the light, like a stagecoach passes by and the light kind of flickers in through the window, you see Harley's eyes, almost like, how a raccoon's or a deer's eyes light up at night. You get that retinal uh, mirroring or whatever you want to call it, that shine back. But you see kind of a purple haze to it, and it's just there for an instant, but just enough to make you kind of wonder what's going on.
I do need Evan to make
It's
a
not.
notice check.
Notice check.
A notice check, yeah.
Okay, give me a second. Let me pull up my maneuver. And I just press the
It's
button.
my deal.
We will come back to the gambling checks in just a second. If you want to
Okay,
go
my
ahead
mistake.
if you want to go ahead and roll yours, Mike, as well, and I'll make the roll
I
here.
finally got a good one.
Oh, notice?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry, a gambling check.
Oh, okay.
No, leave those rules. Stay with that. Damn it.
The notice check was only for Devin because unfortunately Mike said the S word. A stagecoach rolled by.
Oh,
Did I notice it?
You do notice it. I need you to make a grit check.
love you, Jess.
I'm going to go ahead and deal out the bennies because we might need these.
Grit or guts?
Guts. I'm sorry.
Oh!
Oh, that's not good.
No! All right.
It's like the scene where two bits. Roger Rabbit, he breaks through the wall.
The stage rolls up, and Evan just freaks out. Ah, they're back.
It's coming
Evan- Evan's face just like suddenly she's she's looking around, she's minding her business, and she sees out of the corner of her eye the stagecoach, and you can just see the fear wash over her face as she jumps up and she pulls out her what's it called?
Pulls out her pistols and starts firing at it.
All right, good. Go ahead and give me a shooting
Harley
check.
casts deflection. Oh shit! Not again.
So I threw the bennies out there. So red, blue, red for Tobias. Red, white, red for Harley. White, red for Evan. And blue, white, and the legendary chip came out. There's still one in the pot from the last campaign.
Actually, I get one fewer
Oh,
on the draw.
That's right.
because of
So the white one
because
was,
of
the blue one was the last one I pulled. So I was getting ready to throw one to Evan because she for her hindrance of the the phobia.
yeah. I
With
get
me. Same with me.
one less fate chip.
Okay, so you got the legendary chip and a white chip. And
With
Evan,
me though. Sorry. Go ahead.
so yeah, Evan, I need you to go ahead and make that. Do you actually fire your gun?
She rolled a
She
1.
will.
I think she should.
If no one has enough reaction to stop her, she'll fire it.
I will give you all a chance. Make a shooting roll, and everyone else, tell me what you're going to do to try and stop this. You see Evan that gun starts to come out. You guys have seen what that gun does. It's like a can. It's not just a hand cannon. It's like a real cannon in her hand.
I've seen that thing.
I think this one.
All right, what are you guys doing? Evan's pulling that gun. You see it starts to glow with the green light, and it starts. You hear that humming sound as it's powering up, and she's about to let loose with it. What are you doing?
She's firing towards us, right? Because we're sitting in front of the window.
She's definitely firing your direction. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna cast deflection on me. So it's like put up a piece of armor in front of me.
All right.
Try to do it. Can I try to cast it like around the table to protect everybody, like the old guys and stuff, and even Boone here, this new fella? Can I cast it that big?
Yes. As a matter of fact, so you use 3 power points to cast it, and for every
Okay.
1 additional power point, you can protect 1 more target.
Okay.
So it would be 6 power points you could protect everyone at the table.
Ooh, 6 power points.
Let him die.
Now I'll just cast it upon myself.
All right. So that's your cast check to protect yourself. What is Tobias doing?
Just flipping that damn table between him and that blast.
And what is Brother Malachi doing?
So I was looking at the different powers. I don't see one that really does what I was looking for. I think I'll maybe go with stun. If I can stun her, it will. If she fails, she'll be shaken. If she fails her vigor check.
You're already shaken.
Yeah, but does that take away her action to be able to fire the gun? That's what I'm trying to remember.
If you
How
roll,
shaken works.
Yeah, the dramatically how it'll play out. If you beat her roll, you will stun her before she fires.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna try to do then.
Okay, so go ahead and give me your
So I'll make
faith
faith check. Yep. That wasn't a very good faith check.
Yeah, 5 there. Harley did roll well with an 8. And Tobias was throwing up. So give me a. You're taking a defensive action, so you're the.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and use my white die to re-roll that, or my white chip to re-roll that.
Okay, sounds good. There you go.
There we go. That's better.
There we go.
That's a double ace right there. Oh no, it's a D12, so it's just a normal
Yep.
ace. But that's still plenty. Yeah, Evan goes to let loose. Evan, you lock in on the stagecoach. That thing is toast. And then suddenly the blessed power of the good Lord moves through Brother Malachi. And at the last possible second, you stun Evan and prevent her from pulling that trigger. And she kind of, she just goes limp in the seat a little bit. The gun drops down to her side. It's still in her hand, but it starts powering down.
Brother Malachi just kind of pours himself another shot and throws it back.
Dag nabbit, Evan, what the heck is going on? Another stagecoach? You gotta learn how to control yourself.
Can't help it, laddies. I'm sorry. I just saw everything all at once. It was right there in front of my eyes again. I need a drink.
Tobias is opening
I
up.
pass.
Yes.
I slowly shove the bottle over next to her. I'm like, here.
By now you hadn't even noticed, but the woman who's working behind the counter, you turn around to get your drink, the bottle gets shoved over, and she's sitting there. She's got an empty glass in her hand, and her hands are just shaking. She's looking at Evan.
After I pour a drink for Evan, I go over, pour a drink for the barkeep.
Bart, she grabs it, her hand shaking, like the whiskey's all over the place. It's bouncing. She manages to get the glass in her mouth and puts it down, closes her eyes, and she's like, "Thank the Lord, thank the Lord," and she disappears into the back.
You see my hand. You see like Harley's hand from behind the table, because it got flipped up and everybody's kind of hiding. You see his hand reach out, grab a shot glass, pull it back, and you hear it. Then he stands up, kind of cleans himself off. Are we done here, or can we play another game?
Miners kind of say, "No, sir, I think I'm done for the day." The young guy kind of looks and nods. As he stands up, you notice there's a wet spot in between his legs. And the pair of them clear out. And unless you plan to keep going with just Tobias, I think this game's done for the day.
Yeah, with dismay, he collects the cards and turns them back into the barmaid.
So, can I just say that I lost about $20 in that game? Even though I did win that last hand. I did win that last hand.
You did have a moment of recollection just before you grabbed that table, before everything went haywire and throw it up. You're like, "Man, I got a full house in my hand. This hand's as good as mine." The table goes up, cards go everywhere. So all in all, you're a couple bucks down. Mike,
How much money did I make?
You managed to make a total of $5.70.
Yeah. Not a bad day.
Okay. Well, Tobias will pull out his cigarette case, light another one up, and then, with his level gaze, look over at Harley and say, "Perhaps we could talk."
Sure. Mind if we go over here to my friend? I want to make sure she's okay, of course.
We do. You were talking to your friend about reading. Gentleman at the table likes to read.
Yeah, you said there
I
was
like to read.
mighty fine. You
I like
do?
to read too.
What do
I
you
found
like to
some
read?
I found some very interesting things to read. Interesting things like interesting characters. Harley Fogg, Malachi, Evan Daly. Interesting characters. If you'd like to know more about them, you'll meet with me. And he'll
seem to
take a few steps, gingerly stepping over the stuff on the floor.
seem to know quite a bit about us. Oh.
Mhm.
We don't know much about you, stranger.
It'll be rectified. Actually, he'll look over at the barkeep, and he'll put a few more bills on the table and say, for the damage and for the drinks.
She kind of nods, takes the bills, and her hands are still shaking a little bit, but she's mostly gotten control of herself at this point.
Before she leaves, he tells the barkeep, "A glass of warm milk, love. It'll work wonders for you."
Brit.
What?
Brother Malachi will take the whiskey bottle, and refill Tobias's glass.
Is Boone British?
He just talks like it. You had an interesting accent. I wanted an interesting accent, so I chose this one. Just roll with it.
If he's Brit, Evan already doesn't like him.
Oh, well, if she learns more about him, she'll like him less. So let's just leave it at that.
All right, well. Harley grabs another shot of whiskey and saddles out the door and behind Tobias here. Now, Mr. Boone, can I call you Tobias? Did I hear that is your name?
Who told you?
Did you say your first name at all?
Yeah, you said your name earlier.
Okay.
I did. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did. You did briefly once.
Do you mind
I just
call-
give him a little. I just tell him Boone's.
Okay.
It'll do.
Boone will do. Gotcha. Now, what is all this business? How come you know so much about me and I don't know anything about you?
I've been looking for you a lot for a while. Trying to learn as much about you as I can.
What, because you're a fan of our work, or you have purpose with us?
Of both, actually.
Oh,
You see,
I like this guy.
one of the reasons I sought you out is because I know you've seen things. I myself have seen a few things. Things that have. Oh, and as he actually kind of moves his head a little bit. You can see that his hair is actually starting to turn like white, which should be unusual for a younger-looking gentleman that he is.
Hmm.
I've seen a few things myself. If you're willing to come this far, perhaps you'll follow me the rest of the way.
And where am I following you? The library, you say?
Quiet and we can talk, yes.
Fair enough. I wanted to see it anyway. You guys
We'll
with
be
us? Turns to Brother Malachi and Evan. Shall we
Brother
join
Malachi
Mr. Boone here?
throws back the last shot of whiskey and looks at what's left in the bottle, corks it, sticks it in his duster, uncocks the hammers on his shotgun, and
Silently. Oh, damn.
carefully uncocks the hammers on his shotgun, and he's like, "Lead the way."
All right.
And then put their handgun away as well.
At this point, I'm going to lead them to the library, and I'm guessing that the library doesn't have a lot of folks in it.
Oh, it definitely doesn't. So it's just a few blocks to First Street and just a couple up the other direction to reach Cherry Blossom. And you find, sure enough, the Shanvan Public Library there waiting for you. It's actually a rather glorious, ornately constructed, wooden, library Not stone like some of the other buildings, but it's you could tell the craftsmanship is it's a mix of Eastern and Western influences that come together into this interesting combination. Um, there, fortunately for you, there's actually not lot of activity there, despite the fact that there's this incredible repository of literature here, and with an impressive array of books, more than most of you have ever seen in your life. There's still very few people in the city of Chanfran who spend as much time reading as they do mining and working on their various trades. So during this time of day, the library is fairly empty. You see a young-looking librarian with blondish hair. She's got her hair pulled up into a bun. She has a nice pleated dress and whatnot, and a small pair of round spectacles on. And she looks at you and she cocks an eye at you. She looks at you strangely, as you're definitely not the usual type who come moving into the library. But she doesn't say anything to you. But you can tell she keeps one eye on you as you're working your way inside. The building is 2 stories, and there's a small group of about a dozen shelves on the bottom floor, and then a second floor that's kind of a gallery with about 5 or 6 additional shelves up there, and then a small seating area with some finely crafted, love seats and whatnot in a small circle where people could sit and quietly read. Uh,
My. Carl was right. This is such a fine establishment.
I'd like to see how do you plan to do that, Dax?
Look her dead square in the eye, slide her some money, and say, "Give us the room, love."
Uh, Give me a persuasion check. She stops. She gives you a bit of a shrewd look. She looks down at the bills and looks up at you again. And you see she takes the bill and hesitantly slides it into a pocket down along the side of her dress. And she says, "Very well, but the mayor should be by later today. He wanted to take a tour of the facilities. You only have an hour or so." She walks up to the front doors. There's actually no one else inside the gallery or the library right now, but she locks the front doors with this brass key. Takes the key and puts it in her pocket as well, and she disappears into a storeroom in the back.
All right. At this neat little area, I'll reach into my coat and pull out my dossiers,
As soon
and
as
I'll
you
set them
reach into
down.
your coat, uh, Harley whips out his gun and like, hold on there, pal. Well, now, what is all this about?
Like, I'll pull my coat open just out to the side so you can see that I'm actually reaching for the folders and stuff in the pocket,
Okay.
in our pocket.
Harley doesn't put his
They're
gun up.
rolled. They're rolled. I unroll them and I set them down in front of each of them. This is everything that your government's agency has on you to compile.
Where did you get
Check it,
this?
say it.
The dossiers are labeled on the front with the moniker of the organization known as the agency. This is a group that you've only had a little bit of interaction with, mostly through your friend Jedediah Cash, who was a member of the agency and was sent on a mission, which is how he was introduced to the rest of the group. Uh, you didn't have much interaction with them, especially when you were traipsing through time, seeing as how the agency, if they did survive into the far, far future that you visited, there was no evidence of them in the location you've been traveling around. Um, some of the dossiers, as you start to glance through them, the early material on you are actually written in a handwriting that you recognize as Jed's. But the everything that comes after, a couple years ago, that was all done by someone else's handwriting, someone else keeping an eye on you. There's a discombobulated telling of the events that happened around the city of Los Angeles, and how your group was on the train that eventually, broke down, or not, didn't break down. It was they were in the race to make it to the West Coast. You were with Hellstrom's group, and you had been attacked by Native Americans, and then your group had helped to clear through the cave that helped the train make it to the west and win the Great Railroad race to get a train from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast for the Ghost Rock contract from the United States.
Right.
And that's where it gets a bit fuzzy, because by last accounts, the dossier says that you were in the same camp where the Union forces and Hellstrom's forces, not Union forces, just Hellstrom's forces were at, but an airship had struck into it. And by all accounts, most of those who were at the center of the camp were killed, including Hellstrom and several other important individuals. But then you appeared later on, and it has some very vague accounts of your goings-ons across the Weird West. But no, there is a large section in each one of wondering with questions like, how did they survive the explosion? Were they really there? There's a couple pictures in the dossier. One's of a dead brother Malachi, laying on the ground next to a body that you think might have been Wamley Eaton, which was Billy's character. And the others are, the other bodies, some of them are too burnt and mangled to recognize. And then the rest of it is a whole lot of gibberish that you don't understand, that they don't understand. Just a whole lot of questions that they're trying to figure out.
Oh, that's not surprising.
Yeah. So where did you lay your hands on these?
Asked for them.
Oh. So you're
Government office
asked
and
for
ask
them.
for some files. Sure.
that doesn't make me feel any easier, and doesn't really
Just
make
to you
me want
because
to
I'm
put my
looking.
gun up.
Who are you working
Just
for
because I'm
that you're
looking to
taking
keep
such
them
an interest in us?
Work for the agency. But for the moment, I'm working for something else.
And what would
Future,
that
if
be?
you will. A better future, if you will.
Futures, they're
That's
just so timey-wimey.
Typically won't win stuff.
Found it kind of wibbly wobbly.
Kronos pops his head and is like, "Don't you dare! Don't you dare!"
Don't even fucking say it.
Let me tell you about a little history, son. No, in fact, let me show you. He pulls out the book.
Harley's been known to change history before.
I had something for this. Oh well, I forgot it. Some of the things that I've seen, I think, can be avoided. That you
Okay.
and I think you and your friends might be the key to changing it.
Oh,
For
now
what
You
you
is
have
say
my
some of the
attention.
things that you've seen. You have visions. You have prophecies.
Well, at this point, he he pulls out his cigarettes again, and it looks like he's about to light one up, but then looks around in the library and thinks this place could go up at any minute, and decides to hell with it, and lights a cigarette anyway. And he is sitting in his chair. He leans forward with his his elbows on his knees. And he says, "What I'm about to tell you might find hard to believe."
Oh,
But
Try
it
us.
is
I'd
God
try
truth.
us. We've seen some pretty hard to believe things.
I just almost shot a stagecoach lad.
We've seen so many things. Like stagecoaches.
Now, I brought you a coloring book of stagecoaches.
Ah!
I'll start. I'll recount my tale. Do you want me to just go through the whole thing, or do you want me to paraphrase it?
No, go for it.
In the early days of the agency, I was a researcher. I was recruited by a man who took me in when I was a child. He sent me to school to get an education. I did go across the pond for a while. When I came back, he recruited me into the agency, and like I said, I became a researcher. Some of the things that we were researching, things that were insane, quite out of the ordinary. Looking into stories of the occult. Well, at some point, some of our agents had detected I'm not sure how to describe a surge of energies that demanded explanation. Unfortunately, our resources weren't quite enough to breach it on our own, so we reached out for help. That works for your Confederate states. Granted them safe passage, and they joined us at this native burial ground. Once we were there, they would use their archaics, men like yourself, Mr. Fogg, and well, he didn't actually use the name of them. We don't like to talk about those guys. We like to use what we can. In any
Gotcha.
case, we didn't realize as we were walking into a trap. Men like you, Mr. Fogg, and men like you, Brother Malachi.
There
Just
aren't a whole
yourself.
lot of men like me.
Not anymore. And also, like you, Ms. I want to say Daly? Is that her last name? I can never remember.
It's
I
Daily.
apologize. It's Daly. And you, Ms. Daly. Had our own dead men and our own mad scientists. They approached the energies coming from this burial ground. When they tried to use their abilities, the entire scene erupted like something out of a dime novel. There was fire. There was fury and chaos. And we had realized that we had opened a door to something that was not meant to be opened. Creatures, things came through, possessed the arcane, they possessed the dead men, and they caused the contraptions of the scientists to react in ways that even they could not have foreseen. This was happening. The agents, the rangers, that were tearing each other apart.
So basically, you opened a portal to hell, and you need us to go close it for you.
The portal has now gone dormant. But it's what I saw inside. I dared to look inside, and I saw something that, even now, I saw you. And I saw you, each of them in turn. And I saw your faces as clearly as I see them now, and the faces of your compatriots. You were there, in this, to these natives' hunting grounds. I saw you there.
Brother Malachi seems completely, unsurprised by this at all. I've spent time in hell before.
That's when I knew I had to find you. I didn't know anything about you at the time. I was finally able to escape with a handful of others. Of us that went. Only 8 of us remain. The story will not be told to you. No other agent will ever retell you this story. No ranger. The story has been redacted, buried. Streets have turned to drink, or to the opium, or laudanum, any way to cope. My way of coping was to find you. Maybe stop to whatever's coming.
And
To these things to earn your trust, I tell you my story without embellishment.
Well, usually wherever I go, hell follows with me. But if you've unleashed some beings from hell on this world, well,
That's just it. I don't think we unleashed it. I think we found it.
So you're thinking they were already here?
It's my suspicion, yes. I haven't been back since.
Well,
that's
like the old saying goes, it's fight fire with fire.
Harley kind of leans back in his chair like he does, is fiddling with his coins in his hand. And he flips a coin as high as possible. Like it flies, it almost hits the roof of the thing. And then right before it hits the table, he sticks his hand out and he catches it. Puts it on the back of his hand. Well, heads I go, tails we don't. And he lifts it up, and it's heads. And then you can hear him say, "Damn."
I thought
Back
you were
is
gonna
like-
actually roll it. I thought you were gonna actually roll a die and see if we continue or not.
It's a one shot. We better go through with it, right?
We got a
already wrecked lot of
50%
mics.
chance of calling it an evening.
Yeah,
That's why I was like, hey, should I just paraphrase this? Should I just tell him? But
I know.
screw it.
And this is how I wreck Mike's mods.
I'm already.
Long, drawn out role play.
Oh no, I'm loving the roleplay. But I watch as my well-shorn plot drifts farther and farther away.
Every day we drift further and further from the plot.
Oh, you have no idea. You sweet summer child.
So, right about now is probably a good time for Tobias to deliver that letter to them.
All right. Hand it over.
What letter?
Hand them the letter. The letter I was holding for all of you. Whole time.
Okay.
And
That I just remembered.
since Dax is doing such a good job, I'll let you go ahead and read this letter from an individual named Christopher Fogg. I'm sorry, we'll let Michael read it. From a name you obviously recognize, but I'll let you go ahead and read this to the group.
All right. Dear Harley, I know I've not seen you in a long time, but I figure we are family, and I hope you will at least consider my request. We're in Virginia City, Nevada, striking for safer minds. Yesterday, Cyprick is killed by friend Jake, and I fear I may be next. Please come quick. We need help, and there's no one else I can ask. Sincerely, Christopher.
The letter itself is very well worn. It looks like it's been carried around for a couple weeks. So it's taken its time to get to you, obviously.
He
I
kind of
hope you'll
sits there in
forgive me.
silence.
I hope you'll forgive me. I'm not as fast as the Pony Express.
How long have you had it?
If I say not long, do I have to roll for lying? Do I have to roll for bluff?
You've had it for a few weeks. So when it came to the agency, it was there for a day or so until it was handed over to you, with instructions to head west and to look for Harley Fogg. Whoever sent it had no way to know how to reach him other than possibly sending it through the agency, through the loose connection that you guys had with them through Jed early on in the last campaign.
Let's also keep in mind, I had no idea what was in that letter or how urgent it was.
Did Christopher sign it with a date at all?
No, unfortunately, there was no date. The only thing that was there is exactly what you see in the handout.
Okay. Harley kind of holds it up to the light. Yeah. Ponders it. Folds it, in half and then in half again, and he keeps doing that till it's really small. And then he kind of tucks it into the secret pocket in his coat.
Okay.
Not so secret anymore.
Sometimes what you think you see is not what you saw, especially when it comes to a card shark.
So, Virginia City, Nevada, eh? Is that
Yep.
Now we
change
can
the
get there
direction
quickly in
that
stagecoach.
Stagecoach. Ah!
So
That's hilarious.
as you can see
We'll
on the
take a train.
as you can see on the map here, you're currently in Shanvan, which is circled there on the map. By fortune's sake and design of the adventure, Virginia City is just to the northeast of you across the state line, and there is a rail train that could take you there in pretty short order. You could be there in a couple days by that train.
And it took him 2 weeks to find us.
Because
I was back east.
he was back east and he didn't know where you were in the Weird West. He had to track you down.
Oh, okay. All right.
Give me some credit here.
Well, so the letter had to go from out here back east to come back out this way.
Yep.
It was intercepted by agents.
Hmm.
There's no address. It just says, "Hey,
Yeah.
whoever can find this guy."
Yeah. While there are agents active in the Weird West, their main headquarters is back out east. So if someone was
Okay.
looking to get a letter to someone through the agency, they would have had no choice but to send it back east first.
Out of game,
Mhm.
like I have this theory that I want to someday play in a real game.
Okay.
Once we're tasked with finding somebody, like you have to go out and find such and such, I think we should write them a letter and then follow the letter, because the letter always finds that person. Like no matter where they are, right? It's like some magical thing. Like I just write a name and say, "Hey there, such and such, we're looking for you. Sincerely, us," and then mail it, and then just follow it. It's guaranteed 100% to work.
I like your idea. We'll run with that someday.
But not today.
But not today. I could always write him a letter back.
True. That you could.
All right, I do that actually. I walk over and I look for a piece of paper and a pen on the desk. If I don't see one, I just walk up to a bookshelf and rip a page out of something.
Out of a book.
Yeah, out of a book. And
Oh, fortunately, it doesn't have to go
I know-
quite that far.
I know the
There
Bible
is
always has one.
there's definitely pen and ink behind the desk there for you.
okay, I'll sit down and pen. Christopher, I hope I do find you well. I just received your letter, and it is concerning. If you are safe, I will be heading to Virginia City here promptly. Meet me. Do I know any place in Virginia City that Christopher and I may have been at one point, or?
Say the post office. I'm sure everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
here, let me grab one real quick. So there's a place that you loved to frequent while you were there, known as the Old Washoe Club, otherwise known as the Millionaire Boys Club. It was an opulent manse that served as a gathering place for the richest of the rich. Now, while you weren't necessarily one of the richest of the rich, you definitely played the part well. And for a man who's good with cards, it was definitely a place where you could make a small fortune.
Okay. Meet me at the, and then I'll put $ boys,
Okay.
and then he'll know what that means. And then I'll signed Harley, and then
All right.
I'll try to go to the nearest post office and mail that out promptly.
All right. While Harley's going to mail this letter, what are the rest of you guys doing?
I guess we've got to get some tickets on the train to get ourselves over to Virginia City.
Unless I can ride that snazzy new robotic horse.
I'm sure you could, but I think the train would be faster.
You could go either way.
I'd say we go train.
And you could take.
A train is basically a big stagecoach, right? It's never going to get old.
You'll definitely be taking your horses and whatnot with you, so you'll be able to ride them when you get there if you want, Jess.
Yeah, I mean they'll go on the horse truck, I guess.
Yeah. Although yours
Car.
could go anywhere you want it to in storage, or it doesn't exactly have the same needs as other horses.
Sit up.
Yeah. Level Betsy.
You can hit a button on it; it transforms into like a more compact, like box-like shape.
Like a suitcase. Like in the Jetsons.
Go gadget
Oh my
horse.
god. Yeah, it's like a suitcase.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, so you got to. It's something you special built, so you got a button on it, so you can turn your horse into a suitcase and take it with you wherever you want.
I love that. Like go-go gadgets like shit. I love it.
Did you want to name your horse too while we're at it?
Betsy. Her name is Betsy.
Old Betsy, okay, or just Betsy.
No gadget.
Oh, Betsy. Either way, their name is Betsy.
Sounds good to me.
An opportunity. You could have called it crankshaft or some mechanical name. Ugh.
Oh no, that's right. It's a classic.
Yeah.
It's a classic name for a cool horse.
Bolt.
Oh, I'm not clever, right?
You guys have your own horses that you can name Bolt and Gadget if you want.
Now my horse is Baloo. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, good old faithful Baloo.
Bill, do you remember what your horse was called?
I'm trying to remember. It
Horse.
was
It was called Horse.
no, it was something from Revelations. It was like because wasn't
Behold a pale horse. A man who
yeah,
sat on him
behold
was death.
the pale horse and the man who sat on him was death. It
Followed
was
with him.
yeah, hell followed with him. My horse was named like Vengeance or something like that. I don't remember now.
All
I
right,
had it on
that's
my
all right.
old character sheet.
Damn, you rolled 20. Yeah, it's not hard to secure passage on the Denver Pacific Railroad, which runs directly from the city of Shanfan. Tickets for you and for your horses, for 3 of you, and the rest of you just have your baggage. Only cost about $15 a piece for the trip on the Lightning Rail from here to Virginia City.
All right, catch the first train we can.
The front of the rail station looked pretty standard, like any old west. But there's this large structured, like steel structured building that hangs out over the lightning rail trains. They can have 3 of them in dock at any one point. And I meant to move you guys over too. As you start heading over to them, there's a horde of people moving back and forth across the enormous trains, and the crowds are closing in and whatnot. As they're getting this 2-story train ready for the trip back across the country. $15, gets you. It's only a couple of days, so you get a small room with 4 beds into it. They fold down out of the wall, and they also serve as seating arrangements. And there's kind of a table that sits between the 4 of them, and whatnot. And your horses are taken back to the horse cart, the horse truck, and it's ample accommodations for all of you. But you do find they are fairly close quarters. It's as you sit down, a short little while later, you hear a knock at the door, and a skinny-looking older man pushes a small cart inside, and he's like, "Care for a bit of tea or a snack, sir, ma'am?"
Does he have chocolate frogs?
No chocolate frogs.
We'll buy the whole lot.
I want all of them. No chocolate frogs. I do have some of those mints, though, if you like something sweet.
Birdies, every flavor
flavor.
bean or whatever.
He pulls out these long peppermint sticks. They're white, like Christmas ones. They're white with the red swirl around it, but they're completely straight. They're not hooked like a cane. And he says, these are a penny apiece if you want some.
Fee.
Uh,
Take a pepper stick.
sure. I'll take 2, please.
Very good. He dishes out the treats and care for some tea. We also have coffee if that's more to your liking.
I
You
will
have
take
whiskey?
some, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't carry spirits with me, sir. But you could go to the dining carts once we set off if you'd like.
The Holy Spirit is always with you, son.
Mm.
I'll take some coffee. How much?
Oh, coffee is just a nickel, sir.
Thank you kindly.
So, and that actually
Please.
is coffee for all of you. So he sets out 4 little cups and saucers and pours some coffee, and leaves some napkins and whatnot, and a little plate with sugar cubes on it, and a little thing with some cream in it. And then he turns his cart around and he backs out and leaves you to enjoy your refreshments.
All right.
Yeah.
Do
Pour
you
myself
like
a cup of coffee, and I thank Harley for the coffee. And then I literally pour my coffee, add some sugar, and then stick the peppermint stick in it and take a sip.
it starts to dissolve quickly, and the minty taste just fills the mixes with the sour taste of the coffee, and it is a perfect combination. Although I should let you describe it since you're the expert, actually.
I'm not exactly an expert,
Oh, you definitely know way more than I do.
The
but
barista
peppermint does
of the
go
group.
with coffee because depending on the type of coffee and depending on how it's roasted, it can go really good with coffee because it will cut the bitterness and it'll taste more. Yeah.
Smooth.
Anyways, I work at Starbucks.
And that definitely makes you, like I said, more of an expert than I am as a non-coffee drinker. So I trust you.
Harley kind of looks at her and maybe dips his peppermint stick in his coffee, kind of half a second, shakes his head, drinks the coffee black anyway. So, like, no.
Brother Malachi takes a look at the cup of coffee and dumps the coffee out on the floor. Reaches into his duster and pulls out what's left of the bottle of whiskey from the saloon, pulls the cork on it and fills the cup with whiskey and starts drinking.
You could have saved the coffee. I would have drank it.
And drink out of the bottle like an uncivilized fool.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any more in that bottle? Is there like a little...
Tobias shrugs his shoulders and pulls out a flask.
Don't mind if I do, really.
He reaches over and fills Harley's coffee cup with whiskey for him.
Much obliged.
You hear the horn of the train sound, and with the lurch of motion, the train takes off and takes no time at all to clear the station and quickly get up to speed, and then start shooting down the rail. Within moments, it always amazes you how fast these lightning rails can actually move. It keeps to an even 40 miles or so until it clears out of Shanfran, then speeds up to somewhere close to 100 miles per hour. As you're shooting across the landscape, close to you, everything is a blur. You have to focus on the landscape at a distance to really get anything in focus as you find yourself moving across the deserts and out away from the greenery around Shanfran, and then across the deserts as you get closer to the mountains. Sorry, someone was going to say something.
I was just gonna say I strike up a conversation with Boone and about the dangers of what exactly he did see again, just kind of committing them to memory. Maybe looking through my grimoire that I had found, trying to prepare myself. Also, allowing my mind to drift off and think about Christopher and hope that he's okay. And
Give me a spellcasting check.
okay.
Would I be able to help him out with my occult roll, with my occult knowledge? I can actually describe it for him, and
Yeah, by all means, go ahead and give me the occult roll. first? Oh, you
You
already got your.
always have an opportunity to fail. Goodness gracious.
Oh, that's an ace. So yeah, you're actually going to get a +4 bonus to your roll. So your roll was a 5. With your +4 bonus is a 9. So
Okay.
that's a success and a raise. So
Nice.
the you do know that there's fear levels across the Weird West as the Reckoners have been working their dark magics across the land. People like Brother Grimmy, they've been raising the fear level of the people, and as they do, more and more of the hellscape seems to seep its way in. You start to realize the more you talk back and forth with Boone, what they actually experienced was a place that somehow long ago, maybe even before it was a burial ground, some kind of darkness got seeped into this location. Then, when the warriors and the people of the tribe, that even though they weren't able to identify them, were laid on this place, even without the work of the Reckoners, kind of enhanced the evil and the sadness that there was in the location. Um, the the land, the location he describes to you was actually up in the Dakotas, and where there's been a lot of conflict between the native people and the settlers who continue to move into that area and trying to set up homesteads, and
Hmm.
the it's gotten to the point where some locations, the South have sent the CSA have sent their troops up to try and stake claims. The North have been sending their folks in, and they've run into all sorts of trouble. The towns have become entrenched and sieged. Like the armies had to set up around all the major towns and whatnot. But ultimately, what that served to do is to raise the fear level in the area. And this location they gone to just seeped with it, just soaked it all up, and within that location was able to raise the level of evil. You think what they actually did is when they came in with their magics and their experiments and whatnot, they unwittingly pushed it over the edge and literally opened up the earth and right into the hellscape and gave them a glimpse of hell on earth, as it would be when the world's entirely consumed. Similar to what you had seen because the way he kind of describes what he saw is it's almost like a mirror image of the hellscape that you experienced when you had gone into the far future.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, you also, through the conversation and digging through the grimoire and whatnot, you do give yourself 2 extra power points that you can use over the course of the session,
Okay.
over your maximum.
Okay. How do I put that on the character sheet?
You could do so for your power points.
Yeah.
Go down to your power points. Uh, you're down 3, so just put it
Yeah.
back up 2 to 24.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
you're going
what
to regain
I
some of
did.
that too, so you can just put that above. You're going to replenish that before you get to Virginia City. So set
Okay.
that to
So just
27.
okay. Gotcha.
Oh, okay. So I meant to grab your chips over there too. So Dax, give me heads or pick a number 1 through 10.
5.
Okay. So you lose a red. You don't have one of those red chips. So it's a 2-day journey as you move into the mountains, and as you crest over them, you start to get into as it comes down the other side of the mountain range. You can see Virginia City in the distance. Let me copy all of this. So I got your chips and everything.
I assume that the letter that I sent went out like a day ahead of our train so that it might get there in time before we do.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. The Pony Express, the mail, they're definitely. Or you know what? We could retcon a little bit. You also, if you wanted to, you could have sent a telegraph, which would have gotten there the exact same day. Would you think you would have
Oh,
actually
okay.
done that?
Yeah, I probably would have done that. Because I would be more concerned about getting that message out.
Okay. So yeah, your telegraph went out right away, and
Okay.
they said they
How much,
go ahead.
how much did that cost me?
It's 1 cent per letter. So your message was
No. Okay.
we'll say it was 30 cents.
Okay.
Got your letter. Stop. On the way. Stop. Try not to die before I get there. Stop.
Dollar sign,
Dollar,
dollar sign.
Boys.
The guy's just looking at you like, and then his cramped hands.
Virginia City. It's a forgot about oasis of civilization as far as Virginia City is concerned. This boomtown is a full-scale desert metropolis of nearly 30,000. That's impressive, right? 30,000 residents, built literally overnight and funded by seemingly limitless veins of gold, silver, and ghost rock. Lincoln declared Nevada a state back in 1864, even though Nevada didn't have enough folk living in it to do so constitutionally, primarily so that he could lay claim to Virginia City's riches for the Union. Since then, Virginia City has tended to bring out that kind of selfish behavior in the people who live there.
That kind of place.
The city's origin is in a place known as Comstock's Lode. The first miners to settle the area were a couple of tin horns known as Pat McLaughlin and Peter O'Reilly. Notoriously, these two individuals are known across the Weird West as being not that bright at all. And a man named Henry Comstock showed up not too long after they struck it rich and managed to convince these two gentlemen that he had actually owned the land that they'd been mining illegally and showed them a genuine contract that entitled them that said that he actually owned this land. While this claim is seen notoriously as one of the greatest con jobs in history, it has been looked upon as what the Comstock family has used to leverage their influence and their power and their wealth over the city of Virginia City. The word got out pretty quick after that, and miners came in and whatnot. And years later, the city is a bustling location.
Okay.
As you find your way coming into town, Virginia City itself is nestled in the middle of these mountains on the eastern side of the range. There, the train actually comes in along the north side up this direction, so that all the goods and whatnot can be carried down into the different parts of town from there. Before we go any farther, do you have any questions about Virginia City?
For those two guys who were quote unquote illegally mining, were those Irishmen? They sure sounded like Irishmen.
Unfortunately, with
Well,
names
one was
like
named O'Reilly.
yeah, with Peter O'Reilly and Pat McLaughlin, I'd have to say there's probably strong Irish blood in them.
Making a bad name, making us all look stupid.
Yeah, unfortunately, smarts didn't run in every family from the old Emerald Isle.
Yes, no.
So you said that in addition to just regular like gold and silver and the stuff that they mine, that they're actually mining ghost rock here as well?
Oh yeah, ghost rock is in huge. Is not quite as abundant as it is in the maze. Where the ground was literally cut into and shorn down to the water. But plenty enough of it that it's they're getting rich on it along with the gold and silver.
Interesting. And in my travels, going around and bringing justice, or bringing judgment, I should say. Have I heard anything about the clergy here in Virginia City?
Oh, there's definitely clergy here, but most of what you've heard about them is that they seem to have little to no influence over the people. the folks who the kind of folks this kind of city attracts tend to be the covetous, the greedy type, less inclined to listen to the good word as they are to listen to a good tip about the next place to dig, or a mine that's hiring to bring on miners because they've hit a mother load, and they're pulling in quite a bit of cash.
And I assume, Christopher has come here to mine, and they said they were striking for safer mines. So, is that a ghost rock mine? Is that all kinds of mines, or is that like, I guess which mines are owned by a person that has like the least safe mines? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
So the last time you talked to Christopher, which was years ago, he was coming to Virginia City to actually get work at the Comstock Load with the Comstock Load Company.
Okay.
While they do specialize, they do mine all three things. They are the ones who have dug into the most ghost rock.
Okay.
Uh,
So
they're
I'm assuming
also based on the unscrupulous nature of the founding of the family, Henry Comstock. They are notorious. Actually, we'll do it this way. Give me a common knowledge check, and I'll tell me exactly how much to tell you.
Is that a smarts check, or is that
It's a skill. You should have common
Oh.
knowledge.
I
That everybody or just him?
Yeah, everyone can make the check.
Dear love.
It's pretty good considering I'm really not skilled in that.
Apparently, Evan Daly likes to keep up with her Irish brethren.
Irish brethren, but also it's ghost rock. I gotta know more. I gotta know where I can get the goods.
And Evan knows exactly the information you're looking for.
Don't you know? I got to know where the goods are.
Don't make fun of her. She's doing a way better Irish accent than I could.
Oh, I've already changed that 3 times in the thing. Harley can't make up his mind here.
Um,
I'm not even convinced by the one you were just using. Oh wait, that's your voice.
I don't even commit to that.
I don't even commit to that accent.
Evan knows the reputation of the Comstock Load Mine Company. They are extremely wealth driven and greed driven. The well-being of the miners is not one of their priorities, and there have been several accidents through the years. And as mines collapse and men and women are lost, underground and whatnot. If anything, it's they use these accidents as now it's time to turn directions. Let's go see what we can find over this direction, and leaving the bodies behind, and which unfortunately what happens most of the time. They do have a nasty reputation.
Well, since I'm the only one that's at least has some knowledge of the law, what do we know about sheriff or a constable or maybe even another agency office?
Give me a knowledge law check.
That's weird. It doesn't want to roll. There it goes.
There you go.
Thank you, wild die.
10 on the wild die. So
Holy moly!
the marshal of the town is a man named Butch Austin.
Austin.
Yeah, Butch Austin, and he is marshal in name only, and he's about as impotent as any lawman could possibly be. The town is run by the mining companies and their gangs, and the law only has as much power as the mining companies allow them to have. They're there mostly as legal enforcers when they come through. While the city does follow union law in name, there's not really a whole lot of law around here.
The letter said something about strike breakers.
Yeah.
They Yeah, that's something that the Pinkerton Detective Agency used to. That was one of their prime jobs. Any chance that they have a presence around here?
Um, no, unfortunately not. Pinkerton tried to set up an office here, and while on face fronts, the local mayor and whatnot was accommodating and whatnot. All sorts of local rules and ordinances and whatnot started getting in the way, and the Pinkertons found themselves pushed out of the city in short order.
Enough. Okay. I like this town.
I would know where that Billionaire Boys Club is.
Oh yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and saddle on down to the Billionaire Boys Club? Maybe my Christopher will be there and meet with us.
So the club is in part of the more opulent section of downtown. Let me scroll up just a little bit. Oh, actually, I think I still got him selected. And you find your way. The town is definitely booming. There's been a lot of construction since the last time you were here, but it's easy enough for you to find your way, especially in the downtown area, which is where the center of the growth was. So that's actually changed the least. If anything, everything has grown up and become nicer since you left. Not so much change in location. And you find your way down to the old Washoe Club.
I'll light a cigarette. I'll look to Brother Malachi and ask him. So, what do you think? Is this Sodom or Gomorrah?
It looks like it might be a little bit of both.
Sure is.
Here, let me get your token set up here. So that's Harley on top.
All I see is a black screen with a
Yeah, me too.
token.
Oh, did I? Man. All right, let me fix it real quick.
Feel like I'm in the pub with my eyes closed.
Oh, I see what happened.
It's pixelating.
It reset my fog of war at some point.
Oh.
Can we uncover all of this? Gotta love roll 20.
Better than Fantasy Grounds.
True. Yeah, true. All right. So you guys approach the club front of the front of the street. You can hear the music and the din of activity going on inside. And I assume nothing stopped. There's no one out. I'm sorry. There's a couple of bouncers out front, but they see the four of you and don't even give you a second to look as they get out of your way and let you go in. You see a pair of saloon doors, one on the west and one on the east. And you do remember before you head in that most of the gambling tables were on the west side of the building, and most of the drinking and hanging out type tables were on the east side, and the entertainment was on the east side. If that matters to your decision to go in, where to go in.
But where would Christopher most likely be? Like, where did we hang out in here? I would assume gambling area.
Yeah, well, your predilection was for gambling. He was never much of a gambler, and so you imagine he's probably on the drinking side. But you never know. If he's waiting for you, he might be on the gambling side.
Okay, that's where I'll go.
To the drinking side?
Yep. Which side was that again?
The east side.
Is that a door?
Yeah, that's a door right there.
Okay.
So as you go inside, see a couple, couple random strangers around. There's actually a pair of gentlemen who have gotten themselves worked up into a bit of a drunken fervor, and they're having fisticuffs in the center of the room. On the stage you see a piano player up there, and there's a woman standing there, but she kind of seems like she stopped. She's got her hands crossed over her arms, and she's watching the two men in the center of the room with a bored look, just waiting for them to get it out of their system so she can go back to singing. Oh shoot, I forgot to put Christopher up. And you do see Christopher
Okay.
sitting at a table across the way. He looks a little scruffier, a little bit older. He's definitely got some more. He was a young man when you last saw him. He's got some more meat on his bones. You can tell he's put on some more tone, some muscle from the long, hard hours of work as a miner. And he looks up. He kind of looks at you for a minute and recognizes you and waves for you to join him.
Okay.
He's got a pair of drinking glasses there. One's already got some whiskey in it, and the other one's empty. And there's a bottle sitting next to it.
I'll reach over and grab the one that's got a drink in it and finish it off for him. And then be like, slam it down. It's like, well, it's mighty good to see. I got your letter. Are you okay?
Harley, I was starting to think I wasn't going to hear from you. I didn't know how to reach you, so I knew you'd been working with that agency, man. So I sent a letter to them. But it's been a month or two, a month and a half now. When I got the wire from you, I was very very happy to hear from you.
That letter got shanghaied and finally got to me, but never mind. It's a long story. Here I am. What? Are you okay? Tell me about your friend. They killed him?
As he gets ready to tell you the story of what's going on, what are the rest of you doing?
I would assume that we went with him, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're welcome to do so.
Would have stuck with Harley looking for Christopher, and then once we found him, would have sat down at the table to hear the details.
I'm gonna keep an eye. I'm gonna try to take a note of how many doors, ways out of the room there are, and also how many men with guns actually work here.
So, you don't see the musician or the woman on the stage carrying any pieces or whatnot. Actually, give me a notice check.
I can do that. I've done it before.
I've done it before, and I'll do it again.
I need a new pair of shoes.
All right, you case the joint a bit. There was the two doors that you saw when you came in. There's a trio of windows that aren't marked, but there's a trio of windows down each of the long walls. And there's a single door in each section that goes into the back of the establishment.
Now, this is important, okay? Is there a mirror behind the bartender or a large, like, one of those scenic windows? Those that people are always getting thrown through?
No, there's not a scenic window. There is a mirror behind the bartender.
Chances are sometime that mirror is going to get busted. Okay. Because I'm not standing by that window. I'm just on the lookout for trouble.
All right. You don't see anyone carrying any pieces out here. Now, you see a couple of the customers, carrying a 6-iron, but that's about it.
Okay. Then in that case, I'll take the table next to them so I can get so I can hear what's going on, but at the same time not be, all up in their business.
Okay. Christopher settles in to tell his story, and he's like, he goes, "Man, things have gotten so much worse since I wrote that letter. See, the Comstock, they just keep pushing us. Things just keep getting worse and worse. We had another crash a couple weeks ago, and 13 miners were killed in the accident. Comstock family, they don't seem to care at all. So me and a bunch of the boys, we decided we were going to go on strike. I mean, we're part of the union, aren't we? It's one of our rights to protest this kind of thing, to make for safer working conditions and whatnot. Things were going well. Work kind of came to a stop, and I mean, the Comstocks, they weren't very happy about it and whatnot, but it seemed like they were willing to talk and whatnot. But that didn't last very long. Some of these strike breakers showed up. More hooligans, I don't know where they came from. I had never seen any of these guys around cities before, but they must have brought them in from somewhere else. So they came in and they started roughing up the strike whenever they could. Well, my friend Jake, he was pretty vocal. I mean, he's always been a smart man, and he helped organize the groups and whatnot, and help lead the rallies and the chants and whatnot. And they didn't take a liking to that at all. Well, one night came back and Jake didn't show up for for one of our rallies at the hall, and we went looking for him, and we found him at his house. Jake had been beaten down and stabbed with some wicked looking, I don't know what it was, but the stab wound had turned black, and it was like seeping through his blood, through his body, out from the wound. I ain't never seen nothing like that.
My chair is making very obvious scooching noises as I try to get closer to hear what's going on.
Oh, for God's sake, Boone, just come over here.
It was this black wound. It was like whatever. It was like poison or something. Just ate right into him, almost like a snake bit. But I mean, it was obviously a knife wound. I've seen knife wounds before. You see them every now and then living out in a place like this. But I never seen a knife wound do that.
Very peculiar. Well, I'm glad that you're okay. Have you been staying low since then, or are you still striking?
Well, to be honest, we were about to give up when that happened. I mean, we didn't know what we were dealing with, but that's when Sister Nettie showed up. We had just about lost all. Sister Nettie. Oh, she's just about one of the most pretty ladies I've ever seen. Oh, pardon, ma'am. No offense. Yeah, he looks at Evan, but she is just about one of the prettiest women I've ever seen. I mean, I really shouldn't say anything about the woman with the cloth like that, but
What was that?
Yay, this guy.
Sister Nettie, she came in and she bolstered our faith. She convinced us that if we didn't keep fighting, we were never going to get right. We couldn't let them intimidate us. She helped organize us again, and we went back to the strike line. But things are still getting rough, and I'm not sure how much longer we can keep it up.
But I really don't like the idea of you putting yourself in harm's way. You have any idea? Have you seen the group of guys that were roughing you up, where they stay?
Well, they're always at the Comstock load. They built a fence in a wall. They don't let us in, so we have to strike outside. We don't let any other miners come in or anything. I mean, that'd ruin the whole thing. But they'll come out of there once they've gotten fit. They're done messing with us, and they'll try and rough us up and send us on our way. But that's not how our parents raised us. We're strong folk, and we don't take kindly to being treated like that.
No, hell, we do not. Well, if you feel safe enough to keep doing it, I suggest you keep doing it, but be careful, brother. I'll try my best to find out who's behind this mysterious stabbings.
Anyone else died?
Well, there've been a few other have gone missing. I mean, no other stab wounds, but there has been some other incidents and whatnot, and several other of the strikers have gone missing. Or I described it as a few other. Is Christopher one of
the strikers?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Yeah, Christopher's my brother.
Right. No, I know that. I just didn't know if he was one of the strikers.
Yeah.
Okay. And so other strikers have started going missing too.
Yeah, unfortunately, the bodies of those strikers haven't been found. They weren't left anywhere. Wherever they're at, those bodies have been taken. If they're dead,
and
to be fair.
I seem to recall before my vision began that you mentioned who owned the mines that these strikers work in.
Yes, that would be Henry Comstock.
Comstocks, that's
and
right.
And the Comstock family.
Is that in our journals?
I just put it in the chat.
Okay.
And then here, you know what? I will add a handout.
And Sister Nellie, is that what you said?
Nettie, Nettie, and I
Okay.
will put this in all of your journals and give you all permission to write on it. So there you go. It's in handouts now. So you can make all the notes you want.
Okay.
All right. So we've got the Comstocks. Own the mines. Strikers. Disappearing. And Sister Nettie, you said?
Yep, Sister Nettie. Little bit of background on the adventure. Her old name was Sister Betsy. But someone took the name Betsy, which is fine. So I renamed her Sister Nettie.
Sister Nettie.
Sister Nettie.
And what part does she play in all this?
So
He's been organizing the miners after Jake died.
yeah, so
She's been firing them back up again.
when Jake died, it almost fell apart, and they were losing faith that they could get anything done. Sister Nettie showed up and convinced them to keep the faith, to keep on striking. And she is a woman of the cloth, and she keeps telling them that they're doing God's good work, and good men can't give up in the face of greed and evil.
Okay. I wonder what interest she has in the mining continuing.
She's got a target on her back. Makes it a good. She's a good enough place to start.
Yeah.
Oh, if you'd like to meet Sister Nettie, I'd love to introduce you to him. She is one swell lady.
One other question. Who is actually organizing? So basically, the strikers are the people that the Comstocks have brought. Like the regular miners, this is like a labored thing, right? I mean, the regular miners are, or is the strikers just what they call the miners?
Yeah, the strikers are the miners, so they're the ones on
Okay.
strike, and the strike breakers are the ones that the company had brought in, not so much to do the work, but to rough up the strikers, the miners, until they get back.
Break up the strike.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not there to do any good honest work. They're just there.
So it's not a strike the way we think of like a labor strike.
Oh no. It is a very violent affair.
Gotcha.
Think very like a Newsies kind of thing.
Okay. Like almost, not quite, but almost like slaves.
Yeah.
Injured slaves.
Okay.
He goes, well, I could take you to see Sister Nettie. She's usually at the hall. I've got to head back to the Comstock load where we're scheduled to start another round of strike this afternoon.
Okay, I think that would be fine.
All right.
Yeah, and I think he should probably make sure he's not late or do anything to draw unusual amounts of attention to himself. Otherwise, he may be the next one to disappear.
Yeah, definitely.
Did
Keep
anyone
your
pay
head
any
down, but
special
stay
attention to us?
active. Take care of yourself, Christopher. We'll get in touch very shortly.
It's good to see you, Harley. Well, yeah, we'll be in touch soon. I'll see you tonight at the hall if nothing else.
Okay, we'll meet you there.
Dax, give me a notice check.
How much can I notice? Because I'm alert. 9s!
The individual in the white hat who seems to be watching the brawl does seem to be keeping an eye on you. And he's kind of, as the fight's been going on in the center of the room, the two boxers, you notice he's actually been inching a little bit closer.
And any, I guess I didn't notice any kind of a tin on him, huh? No tin star or anything for me.
No, nothing like that. He's got an all white suit on. He's got a nice, probably too finely cut pair of boots on him. They've definitely not seen an honest day of work. And he's a
He's a Bond villain.
he's
Is he stroking a white cat?
No white cat, but I was about to describe. He does have a beard that started to turn. It's not gone gray or white yet, but it's definitely, you can see it's salty. It's definitely, his beard is starting to turn. He's got a long mustache that curls out away. It's not a curly mustache, but it kind of curls out and lays down across his beard. And the rest of it, like his beard line is very finely cut, so it's a well tended beard and whatnot.
Is it just me, or is anybody else picturing Colonel Sanders?
There you go.
You're not the only one.
Colonel Sanders is drifting closer, and it looks like Colonel Sanders. Colonel Robert Sanders is his name now.
What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken?
Don't you see, Dr. Jones? Everything that you...
No, Brother Malachi, I expect you to die. That's yeah. So,
Another question.
I'll alert the rest of my. Let me tap somebody and let them know. Hey, we've been seen speaking with a striker, which means they're going to think we're with them. That's going to make our job a little bit harder. Plus, that's okay.
Sadly,
Distract them with their Irish accent.
think that's unavoidable.
He is my brother.
I take it this town is much like Shan Fan, where everybody's pretty much carrying.
Oh yeah, with the lack of law in this town, even though you don't see any tin, there's probably quite a few people carrying.
Okay, and we didn't see any tin on Colonel Sanders there.
No, he is not carrying at all. No,
Okay.
at least none that you see.
But I guarantee if any of us draw on him, the rest of the place is going to draw
I
on
was
us.
gonna say a sweep of the room. Does anybody else seem to be with the good colonel?
The gentleman, a miserly-looking fellow in a red jacket here, kind of scoots over. You get the impression he thought Colonel Sanders was moving over to talk to him, and he kind of leans over and starts talking to him, pointing at the boxers, and you hear him bellowing about, yeah, Sandy's going to give him 1-4. I've never met anyone who could beat a good Irishman in a brawl.
That is a fair statement. Just saying.
Just saying.
In short order, the wily-looking guy right here kind of gets ahead of himself and moves in too close, and the one who must be Sandy kind of hits him with a quick series of jabs and throws one haymaker, and you see the other man go down into a heap.
Oh, that was the Irishman.
That was a fast fight.
We're fighting since we walked in, dude.
Yeah, they've been fighting since you guys walked in. That was the end of a long fight.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, that's all right. You were having a vision, so it's okay. He nods and comes over. The man in the red coat kind of claps him on the side of the audience, like, "Well done, Sandy. Go get yourself a drink. We'll see if we can find you another fight here." The man nods and disappears and heads off towards the bar. Well, Colonel, that was a fair bout, don't you think? I think you owe me some money. The man turns and looks at you, and he does a poor job of letting his eyes run across the rest of you and says, "Well, it was a fair fight, even if it wasn't a good one." And he reaches and he pulls a small roll of cash out of his pocket and hands it to the man with the red coat. And he kind of glances the rest of your direction, and then you see him head towards the other room.
Does he kind of am I getting the vibe that he wants to talk to us?
No, you more get the vibe that he's not good at hiding the fact that he was watching you.
Oh. Well, shall we go have a talk with this guy?
Find out who he's working for and why he's so interested in us.
All these people, man. I feel like I've got the paparazzi on my.
I had to guess. I'd say that gentleman has more in common with the people it has more in common with the employers than they do with the strikers.
With the Comstocks.
I think we need to find out more from the strikers.
Should we come over here and play a game and kind of keep an eye on the guy that's keeping an eye on us?
You can do that.
Well, I mean, we were going to go talk to Sister Nettie, but on our way out the door, we could go introduce ourselves to Colonel Sanders.
Aren't we doing Sister Nettie later once he gets out of that? Once Christopher gets out of that strike?
Yeah.
I thought that's what we were doing.
Oh, okay. I thought we were
We
going
have
now.
time.
I thought we were going now while he was doing his strike.
I wasn't sure which you were doing. I thought it could go either way, so I was waiting for you guys to point me which way you wanted to go.
Well, I
Well,
told Christopher to stick to his routine, and if he needed to go to the strike, he probably should, but just don't do anything to, draw attention to himself. Just show up how he's been showing up, and then we'll meet him afterwards.
Those are his exact words.
Curious about the guy in white, but I'm more curious about the guy in white, but I have a feeling that he reports to somebody else. I think he's going to make our business known to someone else that we don't want to know it. That's my theory.
The man in white does notice that Harley's come across the table and sat down. There's no dealer or any other players at that table, but you do notice the gentleman across the way gets angry, picks up the cash he has left on the table. It's obvious he just lost, and he sees you, and he actually moves over to sit down with you.
No. Hello, friend.
Looking for a more honest game. I swear they're using clay pigeons in that one.
Looking for a morons game?
More honest.
Oh, okay. Sounded like you said a morons game. I'm like,
Maybe I did. I don't know. The man in white kind of notices you, and then you see him head towards the back.
Okay.
It disappears to the door.
I kind of look back towards my shoulder, back over my shoulder, and glance at the group here and kind of shrug, turn around and say, well, I always like a good game. Let's play.
All right, let's play 52 card pickup.
Throw the cards in the air and pick them up. Whoever finds more aces.
All right, give me a gambling check here.
Jesus, where was I when this game was going on?
I know. I've rolled like crap all night.
Yeah, you play a couple hands. He seems to want to stick to the poker. He's not very good, but the cards definitely aren't with you. And he's at least astute enough to pick up on what you're doing, and you push. No real money changes hands because you rolled a 3 and I rolled a 3.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I'm not going to get any satisfaction tonight, I guess. Thank you, sir. It was very nice to meet you. I appreciate sitting at your table. I hope luck. Have a good night.
You too, sir. I think I'll grab myself a drink.
All right. Well, where did our friend in the white go?
Through that door in the back.
Yep. He definitely disappeared from you.
Okay. Do I know what's in the back there? Is that like private gambling rooms or?
You have never been back there.
Okay.
No, usually, as far as you know, all the gambling happens out here.
Okay. I'm going to try to go over there and walk through that back corner where he went.
All right.
I'm just kind of nonchalantly act like I belong here and just kind of start walking.
Our character's probably a bad idea to split the party, huh?
As you start to head that way, you don't get quite that far. The bartender looks at you and moves over and he says, "Oh, sorry, sir. Employees only in the back, and establishment owners."
Oh, sorry. I was just looking for the loo. Yeah. Just want to be a shortcut out back. I really do have to go.
No public facilities here, but if you take one of the front entrances, you can find your way around back.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. I'd offer you a drink, but it seems you're not in need of liquids right now.
No, I'm not. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Get that man a sponge.
Oh man. Now I know what Chunt's gonna use his bag of holding for.
So where are you
It's
guys off to now?
shenanigans. It's shenanigans proof.
I think he's the way to go. We
We're
need to
back.
make sure she's not in any danger.
Who's good at stealthing? Maybe they can get through this door over here.
Remember those cocked hammers in the last bar?
There are stealthy members of the posse. Unfortunately, none of them are with the group right now.
Thank God. Thank God.
Okay. Well, I guess let's go find Christopher and see how he's holding up. Maybe we can go meet this sister,
T.
whatever,
Nettie.
Nettie.
T.
Sister Nettie.
All right, and as your group sets out into Virginia City,